what I'm trying to suggest is that the parents at that point have to more or less stick to the truth, because if they don't stick to the truth, they already know that you're gonna get up against all of them very, very harshly, and you are never ever gonna speak neither to the parents and nor to the system. They know pretty much what the name of the game is, and when it comes to me, they know that when I draw the line is it. For me not to draw that line, they have to pretty much, with this violent, brutal mental game against you, persecution against you, genocide against you, they have to consider all the factors that I have described. And since you act very, very, very nicely, of course there is no reason for parents to say anything that in front of you, at least in front of you, but we will find out who fabricated the lies, who collaborated with the police is the name of the game now, to get me behind the walls of mental institution. But since this is in their interest, they cannot say pretty much anything else than what the truth is. And since you continue to claim that this disease never existed in your case, and since they don't have any proofs, and your mama and your papa cannot say that you are lying, because there is no such thing that they could say that that such disease ever existed, they have to play along. And it's a very, very brutal, very disgusting game. And meanwhile, as I stated, your parents felt sorry for you when you were institutionalized like this. During this incarceration, bond have recreated itself, just like I have stated in my blogs. You don't get to choose your parents or your children. You don't. This is just something that you have and you deal with, whether you like it or not, and it all depends how you deal with it. Personally, for me, parents are my parents. They always were my parents. Despite everything they have done to me, I have loved them, and I will love them. I will always be there for my parents. But then again, it is what it is. You have to be realistic about it. Parents are now, and they always were, pretty much stretched between the system and you. And when it comes to the system have ultimate powers. I deem for my parents that if they would not collaborate with the government against me, they would have been already dead by now. They would destroy them. This is one of the things. But then I have to warn all other people who are parents from, I'm not gonna say kids, but yeah, parent is a parent. His child always will be a kid, regardless of his age. I have to warn you about this, that, and also relatives, excuse me, not only relatives, but people in general that are acquainted with situations that have taken place and they got themselves involved in the case against targeted individual. When a targeted victim is destroyed, not only that you are no longer needed, but you become an issue for the system itself. You, in other words, represent the issue. You, in other words, become a suspect, and you are no longer number A, needed, and B, as such, wanted, because you just represent liability, is what it is. So when that victim, you see, disappears or is subdued or whatever, it is pretty much your turn. So I don't really condemn my parents for getting themselves involved in this, if you understand me what I'm saying. These are things that are extremely, extremely, extremely important for you if, God forbid, if the system gets involved against you, as place have taken in my case. For you to always keep on your mind about what is going on, what is the interests that are involved in the case. Now we go back to what I have stated, second stage, or what takes place after you've been released from mental ward. It's pretty much as I stated. It starts with, on my surprise at least, it started with Dr. Proctor being actually quite humane about it. She was, I would say, I was, at that stage when you exit mental ward, you don't have any right to say anything. You are like individual that was beaten up almost to death, and is now by the same people that beat the crap out of him, asked how he feels about it. And it's pretty much, you're quiet about it. Even that I have spent 2 weeks upon my exiting this mental ward doing nothing else but studying how to commit a suicide, just as I have explained on my videos. This is how bad it was. This is how bad it was. I think I have seen, I don't know how many, read and seen anywhere from videos to books and everything else. It's not bad, it is extremely bad, but it's something that I have finally admitted on video. Fact that I never ever was suicidal or thought about suicide despite everything that took place against me, but at one point in my life it actually have happened. It's basically when you have nothing to live for. Now I have changed afterwards my mind, because I didn't realize it was exactly what they wanted from me. And on my surprise, as I stated, this Dr. Proctor, upon my exit from mental ward, was very humane about it. She during our first visit, she noted that I have told her that this disease did not ever existed in my case. There is no such thing. I've never had any delusions that I have never suffered from any things that do not exist, and I've never suffered any mental disease or anything in my life. I have rationalized her that I don't take medicine simply because not only I'm not alcoholic but or drug addict, but I have never even smoked cigarettes, drank coffee or anything like that. So for me to not to have this disease, and for someone to insist on my taking some kind of psycho drugs and stuff like that, it was just really never an option. In fact, I have told her, if you want me to take the drugs, you have to institutionalize me back in the hospital, because once I'm outside, I'm never ever gonna take drugs. That's one of the things. That's about it. And it was a good stand, because if I would take in drugs, what they do is, the only thing they would come up with is demand to take stronger drugs. Drugs did not make on my thinking, on my ability to process thoughts, any difference at all. They did not have any effect on IQ. They make you drowsy, they make you stuff that I have described on previous videos, but on your mind, on your thought processing, they did not make any difference that I would say. And if they would, I don't know if I really would not treat myself more harshly, because if they really destroy your brain functioning, then what is the purpose of your subsisting, even more subsisting than you already subsist? I mean, when you're not fit for the society, I deem for you to be the best way to just disappear. It's simple as that. You don't want to be depend on others and be pity to yourself. I don't want that. Simple as this. So taking the strong stand against those drugs, it does make quite a difference in the case, in your fight for freedom. If they were demanding today from me to take drugs or throwing me behind the mental hospital, I would, I guess, settle for those drugs, but because I would have to, because I wouldn't have choice. but I never ever would have stopped what I do right now, and that pretty much is recording videos, writing blogs, and alerting the world about what is taking place, which means that gradually they would insist on more and more, because that's pretty much is what they do. I hope you do realize that you don't have choice about what steps to take upon your exit from mental ward. You do in fact have to do what I have told you to do. You do have to press charges against those that have falsified, fabricated lies against you. That's one of the things. And the second charge that you have to press against was against the hospital itself that have hospitalized you unconstitutionally, against the laws, and have further violated, or I should say fabricated, lies against you. At first, I have, like after 2-3 visits with Dr. Proctor, I have suggested her that I demand what would be second opinion about my mental evaluation. Then, however, I have realized that I was a victim of psychiatrists, psychologists that post on forums. You know, the forums that you visit on websites and stuff like that. That's pretty much where they kind of open monologue, if you like, not dialogue. They open few nicks, and then there is one nick that will post that that he was diagnosed with such and such disease, and then that he wants to obtain second opinion, this and that. How can I obtain second opinion and stuff like that? Well, folks, that is all designed to make you insecure, to make you believe that these are the steps that you should do. I, in fact, have realized that is a government setup, and have, instead of that, changed my mind and went from asking Proctor and the nurse that visits Yerich, to whom I have suggested that I will demand second opinion, into suggesting the two that I will demand the release of mental evaluation that took place when hospitalized in this mental hospital in Ljubljana, in so-called Slovenia. Yes, why would you go and have yourself re-evaluated when everything was not only fine with you, but you have greatly exceeded the standards, the society standards that apply to individual? Why would you do that if you're way above the average in your IQ and other mental capabilities? Why would you go and expose yourself to another evaluation? Why would you want to do that? Well, this was quite a shock. Not really. I deemed that they have anticipated that. For me, it would have been easy if somebody would have told me what you know, give me ability to see what you see right now. Basically, to give you ability to see out of the box about what's going on, what to anticipate and what to do. I didn't have anybody. I didn't have anything. So this was, at that point, was quite a shock to them, because they have realized that I will not go along with their terrorizing me, with their abuse. They have realized that I will actually stand up against it all. And it was a breaking point, you know, ping, when I have openly suggested exactly what I have stated to Proctor. Since there was no such thing, and she really didn't have any proof that something was wrong with me, but have further, you know, despite our visitations that we have paid to her with my mom, every time, you know, how are you? Fine. How is your son? Fine. Asking my father, how is your son? Fine. Everything is fine. Everything is normal. We have a great time. We get along each other very well. She would continue to just, at the end of the session, she would just take the recorder and she would just start to talk garbage, lies. She would just start to talk like, everything is fine with him. He is well dressed, clean, appearance well spoken. However, there is already signs that are appearing, the reoccurring of the disease. Wow, it made me wonder, and it made my mother definitely more and more nervous as we went along. It's something that have repeated, and when I said breaking point, it was the time that this psychiatrist in Novo Mesto, this communist filth scumbag Proctor, came up with assertion that the mental evaluations do not necessarily show the disease at all. Well, gee, if you go through some like 100 mental evaluations, I'm certain that something would show the mental disease. Don't you think so, people? Not in this case. Not when communists, or I suspect American Zionists, who have greatly collaborated in this case against me, deal with you. Not that. And since I have mentioned Zionist, word Zionist, I do believe that Zionists have gotten Obama literally black president, not because it would be something that probably even they would want, since it really is not part of who and what we are.
עדיין לא מאוחר, אפשר מחר לעשות מעשה, להתחיל לאסוף את המסתננים, לא צריך לחכות לבג"ץ, לא צריך שום דבר.
אני רואה חרא מחוץ לבית שלי, יריקות, פסיכופטים, אנשים שרק מחפשים איך לרצוח אותי בעיניים שלהם.
But fact that it was, they're greatly anticipating that I will complain against 70 years old news. Or in other words, everything that took place against me before I have left the United States of America. I do believe so, because the only thing they believe they could say was, yes, things like this were also happening during his presidency, is what they say. You know what I mean? It's what they say. The fact, however, is that this 70 years old news is what really counts, and not Obama. Obama is, like I've stated, a clown. And we have to do everything possible that we block, that we stop this 70 years old news. I also anticipate that they will, or they could try to somewhat normalize the situation, to afterwards again repeat one against people. But foremost, apologize, if you understand me, apologize the genocide that was taken, economic genocide that have taken place against us and our families throughout the world, throughout Northern America and Europe and Australia, South Africa and so on. So I do anticipate that they could, you know, come up with excuse that it was during his presidency that was stuff like this that was going on, when in fact it's something that we are dealing with for the last 70 years.
The problem now is future peace. That is your job in Germany. By your conduct and attitude while on guard inside Germany, you can lay the groundwork of a peace that could last forever. Or just the opposite. You could lay the groundwork for a new war to come. And just as American soldiers had to do this job 26 years ago, so other American soldiers, your sons, might have to do it again another 20-odd years from now. Germany today appears to be beaten. Hitler, out. Swastikas, gone. Nazi propaganda, off the air. Concentration camps, empty. You'll see ruins. You'll see flowers. You'll see some mighty pretty scenery. Don't let it fool you. You are in enemy country. Be alert, suspicious of everyone. Take no chances. You are up against something more than tourist scenery. You are up against German history. It isn't good. You are not being sent into Germany as educators. You are soldiers on guard. You will observe their local laws, respect their customs and religion, and you will respect their property rights. You will not ridicule them. You will not argue with them. You will not be friendly. You will be aloof, watchful, and suspicious. Every German is a potential source of trouble. Therefore, there must be no fraternization with any of the German people. Fraternization means making friends. The German people are not our friends. You will not associate with German men, women, or children. You will not associate with them on familiar terms, either in public or in private. You will not visit in their homes, nor will you ever take them into your confidence. However friendly, however sorry, however sick of the Nazi party they may seem, they cannot come back into the civilized fold just by sticking out their hand and saying, "I'm sorry."
But there are millions of Germans. Some of those guys must be okay.
Perhaps. But which ones? Just one mistake may cost you your life. Trust none of them. Someday the German people might be cured of their disease. That is your job in Germany. The next war, that is why you occupy Germany. To make that next war impossible. No easy job. The next war, that is why you occupy Germany. To make that next war impossible. No easy job.
Spying on Friends. It could be the title of a work of fiction, but it's just what Europeans have been up in arms about. According to arch whistleblower Edward Snowden, the American espionage program PRISM included them. Demanding explanations, some outraged voices have even suggested Europe think twice about future trade agreements with the US. Britain's Guardian newspaper and then Germany's Die Spiegel said European delegations have been spied on in Washington, in Brussels and at the United Nations. But both Chancellor Angela Merkel's spokesman have kept on speaking in the conditional, saying we have to see if it's true.
If these news are proven true, this would be very disturbing and raise serious and very important concerns. This is why, as soon as media reports were released, we have immediately requested from the US a full and immediate clarification of the matter.
French President François Hollande said we can't accept this kind of behavior between partners and allies. What are the consequences? First of all, it must stop as soon as possible. I was going to say immediately. Next, negotiations or transactions in all areas can only be entered into after we have guarantees.
Euronews asked European Parliament President Martin Schulz how it could affect relations with Washington. The United States treating its closest allies as enemies is completely unacceptable. If it's confirmed that EU offices were bugged, whether in Washington or in New York, or even institutional buildings in Brussels, then I think this will lead to a serious crisis between the EU and the United States. I'm a bit surprised by the silence of the other European institutions. The Parliament has been very clear on this issue. Yesterday I called the US ambassador to the EU to request clarifications and explanations. Because when we're seen as a threat by the United States, we have to see what the consequences will be. Do you support Edward Snowden getting political asylum in a European country such as Germany? I don't think that those who reveal violations of the law are criminals.
President Obama, for his part, doesn't seem to be taking the whole anger thing very seriously, not among those who've been spied on at home or abroad. He hasn't denied it, saying, of course it's true.
And I guarantee you that in European capitals, there are people who are interested in, if not what I had for breakfast, at least what my talking points might be.
The next war, that is why you occupy Germany. To make that next war impossible. No easy job. In the next war, that is why you occupy Germany. To make that next war impossible. No easy job. The next war, that is why you occupy Germany. To make that next war impossible. No easy job. In the next war, that is why you occupy Germany. To make that next war impossible. No easy job. Trust none of them. Someday the German people might be cured of their disease. The super race disease. The world conquest disease. But they must prove that they have been cured beyond the shadow of a doubt. Trust none of them. Someday the German people might be cured of their disease. The super race disease. The world conquest disease. But they must prove that they have been cured. Trust none of them. Trust none of them. Someday the German people might be cured of their disease. The super race disease. The world conquest disease. But they must prove that they have been cured beyond the shadow. Determined in the vicious German cycle of war, phony peace, war, phony peace, war, phony peace, shall once and for all time come to an end.
towers from my window. And this is where I'm looking. And all of a sudden, down there, I see this van parked. And I see 3 guys on top of the van. And I could see that they were like happy, No, they were. No, they were.
See the old demolitions of these old buildings. It's folded down on itself, and it is not there anymore.
That should be it.
Thanks very much.
Amazingly enough, we have found the moving company where the 5 Israelis worked.
Was this building being used as a front for some kind of Israeli intelligence operation that possibly was doing surveillance on the Arab American community? Were there men celebrating or slapping 5s or whatever?
We had received an all-points bulletin, and I just happened to see the van and, hollered over to my lieutenant. I think that could be the van. We checked it out, and it was. We were all on edge, obviously, so I really wasn't looking to make friends with these people, and neither were the officers that I were with. Once we started talking to them, they were pretty much like, hey, we're not against you, we're with you.
And at that point, we were taken for another round of questioning, this time related to our allegedly being members of Mossad. The fact of the matter is, we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event. Our purpose was to document the event. Our purpose was to document the event. Our purpose was to document the event.
The 5 Israelis were detained for 10 weeks and finally deported on immigration violations after the FBI cleared them of any involvement in 9/11.
The Jewish Weekly The Forward reported that the FBI finally concluded that at least 2 of the detained Israelis were agents working for the Mossad, the Israeli intelligence agency, and that Urban Moving Systems, the ostensible employer of the 5 Israelis, was off on operation. This was confirmed by 2 former CIA officers, and they noted that movers' vans are a common intelligence cover. There was no question but that the order to close down the investigation came from the White House. It was immediately assumed at CIA headquarters that this basically was going to be a cover-up so that the Israelis would not be implicated in any way in 9/11. Several of the detainees discussed their experience in America on an Israeli talk show after their return home, said one of the men, denying that they were laughing or happy on the morning of September 11th. The fact of the matter is we are coming from a country that experiences terror daily. Our purpose was to document the event. How did they know there would be an event to document on 9/11? It doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to connect the dots of the dancing Israeli Mossad agents.
Are determined that the vicious German cycle of war, phony peace, war, phony peace, war, phony peace, shall once and for all time come to an end.
understand that I was not only thrown out of the United States, like, you know, you grab somebody and you throw him out of the country. You expose him out of the country. They couldn't do that because there was no grounds for decent citizen without any crime record, hard-working citizen, honest citizen. There was no such ground. If they could do that, they would, but there was no such ground. There was no such thing. No, in fact, they have gone to the extreme when I was literally told, we don't want you in America anymore. Okay? We hate you. I wish you were dead. You know, we don't want you here anymore. Get out of the United States of America, this and that. These folks that I have recorded in Bellingham, in Washington, in 2009, have had preceded many times before. I was just lucky that evening to have recorded handy because I have anticipated, because of the stuff that was going on. I didn't have the place, no right not to even the rent place, no right to job, no right to any income, no such thing like financial support or anything like that. No, folks, I didn't have the right to even rent a place of my own. I slept on the floor on air mattress, to afterwards end up filing for asylum, political asylums in 5 different countries, in job search in 8 different countries. 30,000 jobs were declined, job applications were declined to me, 25,000 alone in the United States. Abuse that could actually end up, since they knew that I had became US citizen, and meanwhile they could actually end up by these criminals, even after what they have, everything what they have done to me, even into extent when they could literally deprive me of US citizenship during persecution as described here. You know, just, it was Obama. It was a first black president. Forget about that. Forget about that, people. It's our time. It's our time to persecute them. It's our time to take charge of situation. The people like Mark Potok, who was involved in overseas abductions, in MK Ultra procedures against me personally, who have used my ex-wife, Ecuadorian Indian, whom I have married with in order to avoid this pro-Serbian Yugoslav persecution, that have had her approach me to literally condition me whether you're going to get involved with Southern Low Poverty Center and become a volunteer against what they described are racists, supremacists in the United States. In other words, people against whom swift genocide is taking place. Demanding literally, either you're going to get involved with us and enlist yourself as a volunteer on our website, or you're going to spend your life jobless. We're going to ruin you. We're going to make all kinds of stuff, situations that will ruin your life. Well, I mean, this is, you're talking about individual Southern Low Poverty Center, and then you have that ADL, this Jewish League, people that actually drive, drive the whole country. I mean, they literally pick on people, and as I was and am white nationalist, pro-white, you can imagine what moral boost these criminals would get if they would get to list me, if I would list myself on their website, taking the stand with the Jews, literally against the rest of America. It was something I have declined and have challenged them further. I said, how are you going to do that to me? Simple as that. I was naive, I was young, I didn't know any better, but I never ever would make any different choice. So frankly, at this point, for these people, there is no left, no right, no forward, no backwards. They are Costa Concordia. They are not going anywhere else than on the bottom at this point. It is only their choice or how they are going to choose to go to the bottom. From this point on, the only persecution that really will take place will be really against them. So if we go back to this doctor, in a parenthesis, psychiatrist Proctor, from that point on, that I have a knowledge that the whole thing is nothing else than a lie. Trust me, they know what you think, because they have anticipated, and I will also explain how far they have anticipated crime against you. Game have turned more and more into a direction toward terrorizing me, because they play on everything or nothing. You know, they know that either they're gonna get you down, or eventually you will get them down. And at that point, on one of the sessions that have afterwards continued, the issue have arisen where and when I was suggested by Dr. Proctor. These are like turning points, you know, turning points that either make you or they break you. She dared to push forward issue, such as she was always trying to get you into talk. If you could explain her about McCulture procedures, what happened, so how you feel about this, what happened, how you feel about that. Well, if you remember what I have told you, psychiatry is only about writing whatever they want to write about. Don't give them a chance. Don't give them a chance to write about, is the only thing I can say. Even when they're not going to have a chance to write about, and what is also evident from my recordings, which I will post on my blog, they will still write about whatever they want to write about. In fact, what they will be doing to you is they will be sending you what are reports for every meeting that took place between you and them. They will give you like a report, you know, for every session that you had with them, and this is the session that will be this is the report that will be basically sent to you regularly about how she feels interview the session was, and it's pretty much whatever she wants to write about, and it's all be explained in continuation. At that point, as I stated, there are certain issues, certain points that are used, and since you're not like myself, I knew what this was all about. You're just saying everything is wonderful, everything is fine, everything is normal. Your mom says everything is fine and normal, and she really can get you into talk about MK Ultras or unemployment. Yeah, even whatever you have recorded and stuff like that, all that stuff. Don't get to anything, regardless of what proof you have in your hands. Do not, because all they do is, like I have stated, they write whatever they want to write. You say it's white, they will state it that you said it's black, and that your disease, in a parenthesis, is coming back. In one of those points, she came up with the issue for whether I'm still afraid that they're gonna come to pick me up at any time. It was like, wow, you know, wow. First of all, she claimed all along that she doesn't know anything. Yes, that she doesn't know anything about anything. That she doesn't know anything about me at all. Then I realize, and it becomes completely evident, that she is extremely, and I mean extremely well acquainted with my case, because I have indicated on my videos about what they were doing to me. In other words, how they were abducting me, drugging me up, and subjecting me to MK Ultra procedures. So now all of a sudden she is raising the issue. Yeah, if I state her, and I don't know if I recorded that one, but I think I did. If I'm still afraid that they're gonna come to pick me up. In that point, folks, that's like in my case, it is extremely huge issue. You have to understand, number one, my stating, saying to her yes or no would have as a result fatal, I believe, for me, fatal destiny, and would empower her tremendously even more. Because listen to me very carefully now. When subjected, is something that I didn't mention yet, because why? This is what's supposed to be, I think, video 94, and I have excused myself that I cannot, on video 95, I'm sorry, that I cannot go on with it because of what was taking place against me, and in other words, that I am still under supervision, and they can come up with whatever claim at any time against me. What I didn't mention to you was that when, upon my return from Europe back to United States during abductions, when I was subjected to MK Ultra in Slovenia, when back in Miami, in the store, with my ex-wife, I have mentioned to you about what to think in previous videos, what to think, what to eat, what and how to shit, and don't even think about think. And I have in my mind about Alex Jones, these criminals that have anticipated this genocide. He who would literally approach me and would suggest me, when writing the videos, yes, they have greatly anticipated my complaint. Recording videos, writing blogs, you have to hurry. You have to hurry because they are watching you. They are watching you 24/7. And when you say something that they don't like, they can come to pick you up at any time. You know, now we're going to talk about how to drive individual insane, paranoia, how to compel him into situations that I was compelled into, and how to steer his mind in direction that individual would literally wreck himself. You can imagine individual like myself in situation that I was, with people, with neighbors here that have engaged in Project MK Ultra against me so severely as they did. You're complaining about what took place, the anxiety itself about what you say, when you say, and so on. And as promised, they can come to get you at any time. And just that you folks know that MK Ultras, during MK Ultras, they have also acted or performed situations that would make me acknowledge that they are coming to get you. In other words, they were using anxiety, MK Ultras, to promote anxieties in individual, to return you back in Miami, come really literally in your face and suggest you, hey, when you write about what took place against you, just so you know that it can happen, they can come to pick you up, get you at any time. And in regards to your Ron Paul, libertarian Ron Paul, that Zionist worm, scum, parasite, the only suggestion, you know, so just you know that he was a scumbag, the one that have insisted on suggesting me that I have implanted device in my head that can be tracked by GPS. So just so you're going to know what kind of scumbag that really is. You're Ron Paul, you're libertarian, you're freedom fighter, the man that is so concerned about your freedom, about your rights. He is, I think, that Dr. Ron Paul is about the worst scumbag in the entire US government. I think there's no lich worm as criminal as Ron Paul. But anyhow, this is something I didn't talk about, and it's something that I will talk about more in continuation. I will talk about exactly how to drive individual crazies. It's just that you know that I was even told from people, anywhere from literally from doctors to others, that what they have done to me, it only would take years, in some cases 2-3 years, stuff that they have done to me, an individual would become really paranoid and schizophrenics. Okay, against me you're talking about 12-13 years of ongoing crime that was taking place. In fact, I like to ask you a question. How could possibly individual that is thrown on operation table and threatened with lobotomy, unless he complies with multiculturalism, accepts minority datings for granted, how possibly could this individual who is suggested under MK Ultras that he was implanted with anywhere from chips to deep brain electrodes, that is really having something, they use something to make you believe that they are literally drilling in your head when you are all drugged up on operation table? How could individual that is told this over and over again, even in real time, they approach to you, these criminals, and they go on like this for years? You don't even have the right to rent the apartment. What case was in 2008, 2009, 2010, when I went anywhere from Austria, Germany, Belgium, Norway, Sweden, Canada, and so on. No right to even rent apartment of your own, so these criminals can stalk you, approach to you and suggest you that you still have devices in your head and those they have to be removed, that you are tracked when in fact you really are stalked 24/7. How? Please, it's just a question, okay? But you have no right to examine your head, x-ray your head for devices that might be implanted in your head. How could individual go on about it and disbelieve what these criminals are suggesting you under MK Ultra procedures and in real time? And you're talking about 12-13 years of ongoing genocide like this. How? It's just my question. Would it be perhaps irrational for individual not to assume, or I should say believe, that there might be a device implanted in your head, that eventually what they have done to you actually really took place, since you are stalked, since you go for a walk and literally shoveled, pushed aside by police and stuff like this? Wherever you go, they go after you, they follow you wherever you go, whatever you do. How? It's just my question. Is it really abnormal to believe that they have performed something like this on you when you have no right to real health care or abilities to scan yourself properly accordingly with the with what Healthcare Act or your insurance should provide? I mean, it's just really a question. Wouldn't be really something wrong with me if I would decline to believe, which I did? Gosh, I didn't want to believe any of this garbage. I have rejected this garbage till year 2010, when in Norway, when I was again stalked by these criminals, that they still have to remove the device from my head, how it is dangerous to drive, and that I have even driven truck over the road and stuff like that. I mean, I'm just asking you, would it have been something wrong with you not to finally believe this shit? Wouldn't it be? I mean, you are really making no sense at all. You are really a bunch of idiots, not only criminals, but you are making absolutely no sense. And I wouldn't say if individual he would go on with like 2-3 years, and even that would be really strange for a person not to assume that something really was done to him. But you idiots go after a person like 13 years, so he finally comes on air and airs in real time that this is what was done to him after everything that was performed on him. I mean, gee, I used to come back to Miami and I had like 14 days. I have suffered tremendous cold because they would keep me in a basement on a table where it's extremely cold temperatures, and it's something that would repeat. I would have pain in my kidneys literally when I would be returned back to Miami and stuff like that. I would be like week, 2 weeks after that, I would suffer from pain in my kidneys and stuff like that. You think really you would not believe that kinds of stuff? Really? It's really would be strange for someone to claim what I claim, or maybe would have been really, you would have been really strange rather if you would not claim what I did and what they have anticipated I would claim. It's just for you to know, during my stay in the United States, I had 1.5 years of what was healthcare, which I have covered, and it was very expensive. And during that healthcare, I was not allowed. I was employed at South Florida Treatment Evaluation Center, which also is a mental hospital prison, where I was not even allowed as a guard that was inside of the booth. I was not even allowed to go on a restroom when needed. I had suffered hours and hours inside of that booth because they would not come and release me for the restroom. One of my testicles was like this. I couldn't even wear pants. And when I went to the doctor to complain about what is going on, the only thing they have come up with was suggestion that they should just cut me one of my testicles. Can you imagine this? I mean, is this a healthcare you're talking about? My ex-wife, a lie was substantiated further with suggesting me that my ex-wife went to hospital for 3 days. The medical bill was issued to her for $10,000 despite her having a healthcare insurance which they didn't want to pay for a year, and then they have magically removed that. But I do believe that it was used greatly to discourage me from pursuing the right to have my head properly examined, scanned in other words.